کنفرانس پارلمانی در مجلس عوام انگلستان در ادامه کهکشان مقاومت ایران سال 1402-2023 برای اعلام بیانیه مشترک 525 تن اعضای مجلسین عوام و اعیان از همه احزاب در حمایت از قیام مردم ایران و طرح 10 ماده‌ای خانم مریم رجوی برای یک جمهوری دموکراتیک با جدایی دین و دولت.
سخنرانی خانم مریم رجوی رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت و شماری از نمایندگان پارلمان و مجلس اعیان و شخصیت‌های سیاسی در کنفرانس پارلمانی در مجلس عوام انگلستان.
With this statement, you have presented a strong and effective policy towards Iran in the current critical conditions.
خانم رجوی خطاب به قانونگذاران انگلستان: با این بیانیه شما یک سیاست قوی و مؤثر درباره ایران در شرایط حساس کنونی ارائه کردید.
You stand with the Iranian people who reject any sort of dictatorship, either Shah or the mullahs.
بیانیه شما به وضوح نشان داد که منتخبان مردم بریتانیا در کنار مردم ایران قرار دارند و از قیام و مقاومت آنها برای آزادی حمایت می کنند و خواهان نفی هر گونه دیکتاتوری، چه شاه و چه آخوندها هستند.
خانم مریم رجوی: این بیانیه فقط یک پیام همبستگی نیست، بلکه یک موضع سیاسی در برابر رژیمی است که با اعدام و قتل عام شناخته می شود و بانی اصلی تروریسم دولتی نیز هست. این بیانیه انزوا و بی‌اعتباری کامل سیاست مماشات را منعکس می کند.
مردم ایران نقش چشمگیر شما را که با 36 نماینده و لرد از احزاب مختلف شجاعانه لیستگذاری غیرعادلانه مجاهدین را در دادگاه به چالش کشیدید و نهایتاً به از لیست خارج شدن مجاهدین انجامید، همواره به یاد خواهند داشت. حالا هم شما پیشتاز لیستگذاری سپاه پاسداران هستید.
وقتی آخوندها اعتراضات مردم را با اعدام‌های وحشیانه جواب می‌دهند، با انباشتن 5 تن اورانیوم غنی شده امنیت جهان را به خطر می‌اندازند و با فرستادن پهپادهایشان کشتار و ویرانی را برای اروپا به ارمغان می‌برند، امتیاز دادن به رژیم آخوندها جز سرافکندگی حاصلی ندارد.
اگر مماشات سیاست غرب نبود، گروگانگیری اتباع غربی در ایران به سیاست رسمی رژیم تبدیل نمی‌شد. اگر مماشات سیاست غرب نبود، برنامه سلاح هسته‌ای آخوندها سالها پیش برچیده شده بود و اگر سیاست مماشات نبود، این همه موانع بر سر راه مردم و مقاومت برای سرنگونی رژیم قرار نمی گرفت.
مردم و مقاومت ایران که قیمت مبارزه با رژیم را در بیش از 4 دهه با تحمل درد، شکنجه و فدا، از جمله فدای 120,000 تن از بهترین پسران و دخترانشان داده‌اند، هر بهایی را برای به دست آوردن آزادی خواهند پرداخت.
سیاست مماشات این قیمت را برای ما سنگین‌تر و کار دشمن را برای سرکوب آزادی سهل‌تر کرده است.
از سیاست مماشات فقط مردم ما رنج نکشیدند، بلکه مردم اروپا و آمریکا و خاورمیانه هم بابت تروریسم و گروگانگیری و جنگ افروزی آخوندها خسارت بسیار دیدند. این سیاست فاشیسم دینی را در آستانه دستیابی به بمب اتمی قرار داده است.
سیاستی که شما ارائه می کنید خدمت به صلح و امنیت جهانی هم هست. همان که لرد کوربت فقید در یک جمله گفت: آزادی ایران آزادی ماست، زیرا آزادی تجزیه ناپذیر است. وی خطاب به حکام ایران گفت: طوفان تغییر دموکراتیک به حرکت خواهد افتاد. تانک ها قادر نخواهند بود دموکراسی را بکشند.
از یاد نمیبریم سخنان بارونس بوتروید درباره قتل عام 30,000 زندانی سیاسی را که گفت این بزرگترین جنایت علیه بشریت بعد از جنگ جهانی دوم بود که کیفر داده نشده باقی مانده است.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, respected members of the British Committee for Iran Freedom, distinguished members of both houses of Parliament. Your initiative for a new policy on Iran, supported by 525 members of both houses of the British Parliament, in support of the Iranian people's resistance and uprising must be an example for your government and other European parliaments. With this statement, you have presented a strong and effective policy towards Iran in the current critical conditions. Your statement clearly shows that the British people's elected representatives stand with the people of Iran and support their uprising and resistance for freedom. It also shows that you stand with the Iranian people who reject any sort of dictatorship, either Shah or the mullahs. You have been the pioneer in advocating the correct policy. The people of Iran will always remember the significant role played by 36 members of both houses of parliament who bravely challenged the unjust blacklisting of the PMOI at the court, ultimately leading to the organization's delisting. And now you are at the forefront of blacklisting the IRGC. Honorable representatives, during the uprising, we witnessed British people's solidarity with the protesters in Iran, particularly the women at the front lines. Now, all those friendships and solidarity have been demonstrated in your initiative. Earlier, 1,200 mayors and members of city councils in the UK and the majority of members of the parliaments of Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland endorse similar initiatives. These statements issued by members of European Parliament and various national parliaments in Europe indicate that the majority of the elected representatives of European nations are strongly against appeasement of the Iranian regime. This is not just a message of solidarity, but rather a political stand against a regime that is known for executions, mass killings, and being the principal state sponsor of terrorism. In this regard, your statements reflect the total isolation and lack of credibility of the policy of appeasement. When the mullahs respond to the Iranian people's protests with one execution every 5 hours, when they threaten global security by compiling 5 tons of enriched uranium, and when they bring killings and destruction to a part of Europe by sending their drones, granting any concessions to the mullahs, regime bring nothing but shame. If appeasement had not been the policy of the West, the hostage-taking of Western nationals in Iran wouldn't have become the regime's official policy. If appeasement had not been the policy of the West, the mullahs' nuclear weapons program would have been dismantled years ago. And if appeasement had not been the policy, the Iranian people and resistance would have paved the way for the regime's overthrow. Indeed, the international community has a special responsibility towards the issue of Iran. Your statement is a proper response to this responsibility, and that is standing with the Iranian people and resistance. Those who have paid the price of fighting against the regime by enduring over 4 decades of pain, torture, and sacrifices, including the loss of 120,000 of their best sons and daughters, are willing to pay any price to achieve freedom. The policy of appeasement has made this price higher and made the enemy's task to suppressing freedom easier. It is not only our people who have suffered from the policy of appeasement, but also the people of Britain, Europe, United States, and the Middle East, who have suffered greatly from the mullahs' terrorism, hostage-taking, and warmongering. They have paid and continue to pay the price of appeasement of this regime. When the advocates of this policy bow to the regime, they embolden the mullahs, as in the recent decision of Belgium to hand over a diplomat terrorist to the regime. This policy has put religious fascism on the verge of obtaining atomic bomb. Therefore, your statement and the policy you propose also serve the cause of global peace and security. Let us remember the late Lord Corbett, who summarized this truth in a short sentence. The freedom of Iran is our freedom because freedom is indivisible. You have shown your rightful position in this parliament for 4 decades by fulfilling this responsibility. Distinguished figures such as Baroness Boothroyd, Lord Slane, Lord Corbett, Lord Waddington, and Sir David Ames are honored pioneers on this path. Their names shine forever in the history of relations between our two nations. Once Sir David Ames said, "We will not rest until every individual in Iran enjoys freedom and prosperity." He truly stands among the champions of freedom. And we will not forget the words of Baroness Boothroyd on the massacre of 30,000 political prisoners. She said it was the greatest unpunished crime against humanity since World War II. Once again, I want to quote the words of Lord Corbett when the Berlin Wall was crumbling. He was there. He said, "I sat down and cried because, like most people, we knew that it would happen one day. But there was only one question remaining: which day?" Then he turned to the tyrannical rulers of Iran and said, "A democratic storm will sweep across Iran. Tanks will not be able to kill democracy. Demands cannot be hanged. Torture cannot silence those who demand respect for human rights. Democracy will turn your dictatorship to a dirty stain in the pages of Iran's history books." Yes, that day will come. And we are committed to bring that day even one day forward. Thank you all.